Hello, everybody. Christina Wolf here, and welcome to the weekly card pull party. I haven't been on here in a while. As you can see, it's pretty empty in my office here. I'm moving in the next week or two, so I've been pretty busy with that. A little bit about that coming up. I'm going to give everybody a second to hop on if anybody's going to join us. I'm going to just double check and see if anyone else requested a card pull. And if you would like a card pulled, you're more than welcome to add your request to this. You know, it's weird. It's like I'm trying to do this through my phone and okay, let's see. All right, we've got two people here. Yay! Hi, Charlotte. Hi, Elizabeth. If you'd like your card, I know, Charlotte, you wanted a card pulled. Elizabeth, if you'd like one, just put one in the comments. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, what's the sad face for? Okay, I'm going to do, yes, absolutely, you may have a card. Hi, Rena. Yes, put it in the comments below, and I will read your card after I do the card pull for the group. And so I wanted to give us maybe like another minute for other people to pop on. In the meantime, yeah, if you're just coming on, you can see it's pretty empty in my office here. I'm moving, and so it's going to be kind of crazy. But the universe never stops. So I've got 3 card pulls so far. All right, so a couple of announcements. One, I am moving, so it's going to be a little nutty the next couple of weeks. 2, I am returning to work as a deputy. I felt really called to do so because I become extremely interested in the area of PTSD and trauma and child trauma and that sort of thing. And I feel like I can serve more in the law enforcement community, working with the victim advocacy through the sheriff's office. So that's one area that I'm working in. I'm also working on creating some online abandonment recovery like support groups, and really returning to my empowerment coaching roots, because I think there's a lot of noise in this online world, and just to be totally transparent, there's an awful lot of people who are like selling programs to other people to make money online, instead of like, what was the real reason why? What was my why? What was my vision for starting this whole process of, you know, becoming a coach? You know, I wanted to help people, and I really got back into my empowerment coaching training. And one of the main things that like I love is like the idea that like when you do the work on yourself, the work meaning like empowering yourself, you have an ability to empower the universe. You know, it's like when you work on your own consciousness, you help elevate the consciousness of the planet. And so my goal is at a very basic level to, 1, do the work on myself, 2, to help other people do the work on themselves. And as they feel called to help other people with this, it's a ripple effect. You know, like that's, I'm going to misquote this, but Mother Teresa had this saying, like, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. And that was just such a profound thing for me to hear, because it was like at the very basic level, when you are not feeling good yourself, you can't do anything for anybody else. It's just that simple. If you're not in alignment with yourself. And what I will say, though, is empowerment is a process. It's a journey. It's something that, like, you know, you can have it. One of my mentors at the SWAT Institute, Crystal Andrus Morissette, she talks about bookends on the map of consciousness. If you're not familiar with the map of consciousness through David R. Hawkins, this guy is phenomenal. And I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent. That's going to bring me to another little one of my announcements. But it's the basis of empowerment coaching, is this map of consciousness, the map of empowerment, the ability to shift or change your emotion or level of empowerment through the way you're feeling your emotions and how we process them. And the other component of empowerment coaching is processing the emotions in our body. So a lot of us are like super in our heads, but energy is emotion, and that's all in our body. And all of this is coming full circle for me. So, but I love doing these card readings because to me, they're the way in which spirit brings me messages that like I feel like I'm supposed to pass on. And I have like a crap ton of like things like spirit wants me to tell you guys. So, and I know that sounds like kind of woo-woo, but that's okay. I know most of you guys get it. And let me bring you to my next announcement regarding card pull parties. Because I'm going back to work at the sheriff's office full time, instead of doing the card pulls on Monday as I originally scheduled, I would like to do them from now on Sundays, so that I can be fully present. And I think it's a great time to do it because it sets the tone for the week. And you know, I'll do the 3 card pulls and then the 4th one for the overall message or the energy behind the week. And the first one will be for Monday, Tuesday, the second one for Wednesday, Thursday, and of course the last one for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So, yay! You guys will come on Sunday. Yay, I'm so excited you guys are here. The other announcement was because of this, all these ideas that I've been having about returning to empowerment coaching, talking about healing the wounded, abandoned child. This is all about a part of abandonment, or not abandonment recovery, but that is one of those things. Empowerment coaching is working with parts, like parts of yourself. And these are all things that I'm learning through the SWAT Institute. Many of you are also affiliated with the SWAT Institute, but I just really think it's really a really strong foundation for helping you just feel better in your life, and to be able to go out and do the things on a very basic level that you want to do from a more empowered place. So lastly, my last announcement is in order to talk about all this stuff, what is SWAT? It's Simply Woman Accredited Trainer. It's a coaching certification school that I am part of, and some of the ladies in this group are also part of. And they have a few different programs on like how you can train to become an empowerment coach. So SWATinstitute.com, that's a wonderful place to go to check out more info on that. So back to my announcement. Thursdays, I would like to create a Thursday kind of conversations about the universe and you in it sort of Q&A where I can do some coaching if you'd like, but also it's just sort of a prelude to a podcast that I want to have, where, because I have so many people that I love having really cool conversations with. And if you are interested in this and you want to have a really cool conversation about the universe and consciousness and empowerment coaching and just anything, relationships, all of it, you know, that's why I call it Conversations About the Universe, because it doesn't really limit us to, you know, what we want to talk about. So from there, you know, just be the platform to kind of go into more detail about things like the map of consciousness, my shamanic journey training that I'm doing, which I'm super excited about because it's a 5-part training right now, and I think they're adding a 6th one that goes into depth about soul retrieval. And you know, I'm just feeling really called to do a lot of work around soul retrieval with like trauma with kids, or the abandoned child syndrome, or even for first responders and veterans and stuff. I have so many ideas coming. Like Spirit really wants to use me in a way that I'm just like, so much. Which brings me to the last little message that I got from Universe, which was like, when I did my shamanic training, this last session, the second one out of 5 that we're doing, 5 or 6, because they added the 6th one, I did do a shamanic journey. And on that shamanic journey, if you're not familiar with what a shamanic journey is, this is also another wonderful thing to talk about on Conversations About the Universe. But in the shaman tradition, or even Native American tradition, it's where you basically journey into the spirit world. And it's a form of meditation. But really, a shaman is someone who has one foot in the spirit world and one foot in the physical world. And the idea is that you are able to walk in the spirit world amongst your ancestors, your spirit guides, and you receive messages. And one of the messages that I got was to, well, the literal thing was, of course, I got the wolf animal totem. I always see the wolf spirit, animal spirit in my journeys, because it's one of my animal totems. Another conversation for the universe. And long story short, in this one, I ended up turning it into a raven, and I got this message from Spirit that was basically, get the bird's eye view, lose judgment. And I was having a lot of judgment around this online coaching world, like how integrity are people, and I feel like kind of relieved in a way to be going back to my 9-to-5 job, because in a way it takes the pressure off of needing to make money to provide spiritual gifts. Does that make sense? For me, I really wanted to be in this place of service and really return to, like, what is this about? Like, helping people. And so this has been a really crazy, like, last couple months. I don't know about you guys, but I believe that Saturn is in Sagittarius or Scorpio. I'm sorry, Scorpio, I believe it is, for the rest of 2018, or a good portion of it till like November. And if you're not familiar with astrology and all that, Saturn is real practical stuff. Like, you could be real woo-woo and think law of attraction and all this other stuff, but then, Saturn, Father Kronos, he comes into this world and talks to you about real practical things like housing and money and things that, like, how are you structuring your life and being responsible and all these other things. So I'm sort of facing some of that right now. And a couple of people have messaged me over the last couple of weeks, and especially this week, I don't know what the energy is, but for some reason there's a lot of, like, collective, like, anger. We don't really know what it is. Like, maybe, and I was feeling, like, just really angry. And most of the time when I'm feeling really angry, I know why I am. I have some stuff going on that, I'm not prepared to talk about just yet, but I will eventually, I'm sure, because I'm an open book. But I wanted to say that even though you may feel certain things, it may be, we're very much in our masculine, and we like to think that we have to do something about all the feelings that we're having. And the message that I'm getting really is, like, just hold space for these feelings, just sit with them. And a really awesome guy that I like to listen to for energy forecasts is Andrew Martin. You can check him out, Andrew Martin Energy. And he said this really awesome thing, and it really helped me, like, release a lot of pressure that I was putting on myself. And he said, the beginning of the new year doesn't really begin ultimately until the lunar new year, and that's towards the end of February. And I was really feeling like stuff didn't really get going for me until about this time of year. I felt like I was a bear hibernating, and I went through some, like, really like heavy transitioning. And I think that it's just starting to come together now, and which is why I feel like maybe called to go back to my job. And I learned some really profound things over the last few months, but one of them was I had to let a lot of stuff fall apart. A lot of stuff. I mean, we're talking specifically finances, and that's a very Saturn type thing. I'm not surprised, but my finances just completely went to shit. Okay, so we'll just leave it at that. And one of the things that he said was, Andrew Martin said, was, let it all fall apart before you start to rebuild. And it was like, wow, this surrendering to just what is, and don't make around it. Just let it be, let it sit. You may feel a lot of feelings around stuff, but just let it be. Let it be. Because you don't have to do anything for it to really be meaningful for you. And sometimes that's the thing. We don't process emotions because we're just so busy trying to stuff them or do something with them or move them away or never really deal with them. But if we literally just sit with them, let ourselves process them, let ourselves feel them, and then really ultimately let them float off. If you gotta, visualize them going in like a pink bubble and wish them well and let them go, great. There are certain emotions that ultimately you maybe need to act upon, like anger can be jet fuel, as Crystal Anderson Morissette always says. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. But sometimes, this is where you get good at your intuition and you figure out what's good and what isn't. The other last little thing that I felt called to talk about before I finally do this card pull, and you guys are awesome for staying with me this far without actually doing a card pull, is because I've been on here forever and I missed you guys. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I'm like an avid Walking Dead fan. And I was like just beside myself, devastated when Carl got bit. And if you're not familiar with The Walking Dead, you can Google some stuff. But Carl was my TV son. And he, in a way, was kind of represented, like, I'm a mom of boys. And he reminded me a lot of my oldest son, Cody. And so, like, I really feel like when he got bit in February, or not February, December, I was like devastated at the mid-season finale, and I was like, what? Carl can't die. And I like really had like this huge traumatic response to it, and I was really pissed off at myself, like, this is a stupid movie, it's a stupid TV show. Why am I so upset about this? And I really had this meaning making around it. Like, why is this such a big deal? This is weird. And I really, when I journeyed about this shamanic journey, when I journeyed about it, it was like I had a lot of grief about my two older boys when they went to go live with their dad. I felt like I kind of abandoned them in a way because I wasn't emotionally available. Again, abandonment recovery work. It's all in the works here. And I feel like this silly little thing, like, it's silly because it's a TV show, but like art imitates life. And this silly, what I considered silly, here I am with a self-judgment. Remember the bird's eye view, don't judge yourself. This seemingly innocuous thing of like a TV show causing this huge, profound emotional response. It reminded me of the saying from Rumi where he says, the wound is the place where the light enters you. And I was like, this, who here, whenever they're feeling really over emotional, like they're PMSing or something, and they just really want to go get a bucket of ice cream and go watch The Notebook, and it helps you really process out this energy. And I feel like I had this really stuck grief in me, especially around my boys, that this Carl's death like allowed me to process. And so now I like kind of relived it again when he officially died at the, look at me, I'm like, ooh. But I'm having like a very visceral response to it, and I'll talk about that in a second too. Where, at the mid-season premiere where he actually died, I was like, oh my God, I'm reliving it all over again. And it really helped me to also understand, like Spirit was leading me to this idea of how we have certain traumatic memories and how our bodies keep that chemical cocktail in our literally cellular memory, so that we can, you know, immediately go to it, like a neural pathway for our emotions. And when you have like a traumatic event, like child abandonment or like a really painful experience, some things like watching a TV show or whatever will trigger you, because it's giving you a similar chemical cocktail response. This is another awesome conversation for the universe. And I'm really thinking about, yeah, the chemical shit show of grief is exactly it, Elizabeth. Because you could be like in the supermarket and just see like a boy who looks like your child or something, and you're just like, ah! And it just seems irrational at the time, but it really is like your body has memories. And so when you're really all up in your head and you're not tapping into your cellular memories in your body, that's the place you need to go to release it. So watching shows like, you know, The Notebook or you know, in my case, The Walking Dead, like helped me kind of really process this grief in a weird way. I just wanted to put that out there, like, and these are all things that I'm going to talk about. I'm writing a book called The Father Wound, or Healing Sacred Wounds. I can't decide which one yet, but they're all about, you know, these wounds, or quote wounds, that we have on the cellular level, and like all the talk therapy in the world doesn't help you get there, but when you really go into the body and release the chemical, like unwrite the chemical prescription you gave yourself to keep arriving at that traumatic space. I'm just like really fascinated with all of that. So like, you guys have been awesome. It's 222 here. So I'm sure that's an angel number. Who wants to look it up? Yeah, I'm like really excited to write this because I keep looking around and I don't see, like, people talk a little bit about this, and I'm really fascinated with, I've been talking about Bessel van der Kolk. He wrote The Body Keeps the Score. Susan Anderson, she's a pioneer in abandonment recovery, and I'm really hoping, keep my fingers crossed, I get to work with her. She does trainings and workshops, and just really, I really think there's some like a gap in this area of like recovery, because if you've had some sort of childhood abandonment issues or trauma, it really helps. It formulates your identity and how you connect to others for the rest of your life. And this comes out in levels of empowerment, and so much to talk about. So I'm then shuffling my beautiful herbal deck as I've been talking, because I really want to infuse the space with this. But as I'm shuffling, I'd really like to open sacred space and invite in the four winds. And as I do this, this is a part of the native culture and shamanic culture. And this practice helps for me to ensure that only the divine is giving us guidance here. Okay, so if you're with me, I'd like to invite in the winds of the east. This is the springtime of your life. This is where the sun comes up. This is the beginning. This is the void. This is where all things begin and all things return to. And so I invite in the winds of the east. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And normally, again, I've mentioned this before, if I was not facing a camera, I would actually be facing that direction. So I'm literally going to point in that direction. This is the east over here from me. And now I invite in the winds of the south. This is the earthly realm. This is where, you know, Brother Snake, he slithers along the earth and teaches us how to shed our old ways. And I thank you, winds of the south, for coming with us on this adventure. And now I'd like to invite in the winds of the west, which is over here. And this is where Brother Jaguar, the tenacious hunter of the Peruvian forest, or rainforest, he helps us through all rites of passage and difficulties. And this is the fall of our lifetime. This is where we learn to release and renew. And thank you for the winds of the west. And then I invite in the winds of the north. This is where our ancestors and depends on which modality you think of, the Peruvians invite in spirit of the hummingbird for its lightness, its energy of Sami, which is light energy. But native invite in the caribou, the elk, all of our ancestors, and the winter of our lifetime. Thank you for bringing us your wisdom. And as always, thank you to Mother Earth. Thank you for your grounding energy, for giving us life, for being here with us, and holding us and giving us that steadying cradle of your beautiful blue body. Thank you so much. And Father Sky and the Star Nations, and of course Grandmother Moon and Grandfather Sun, thank you so much. And I would personally like to invite in the archangels, Michael, of course, my favorite protector. And I'd really like to invite in Metatron, because Metatron, he is the helper of all the indigo children, all the people questioning why and saying, you know what, maybe the old ways aren't the way we need to be thinking about these days. So for all the kids who are questioning, the indigo kids, I was an indigo child, and I think I have an indigo child. My oldest child is always questioning authority. Don't just accept things the way they are. Thank you for your guidance, Metatron. Thank you for this. Archangel Ariel for providing all of our material needs, and of course for being over all of the herbs and the plants, the plant wisdom from this herbal deck. And our spirit guides, benevolent spirit guides, and light beings, and the ascended masters, Jesus, Mother Mary. And please invite in anyone else that you feel is of the light and will be helpful to us. So, that said, I've been shuffling here. I'm feeling I'm going to cut the deck here. I'm going to do this with my left hand, which is always the one you use to receive spiritual guidance. The left side of the body is feminine, receiving, taking in. And I'm cutting it 3 times. 3 is a very holy number, isn't it? The Trinity. I'm cutting it 1 more time. All right, so this is going to be, as I'm shuffling, we're going to be finding the card for Monday, Tuesday, and it just popped right out. Next is going to be for Wednesday, Thursday. Boop. This one wanted to fly out of my hand. And Friday, Saturday, Sunday came out super quick. And then this last one is the overarching energy for the week. Thank you, Spirit, for your amazing guidance, as always. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. And again, just a reminder, I'm using the Spirit of Herbs Herbal Tarot deck by Michael Tierra. He's a herbalist, and Candice Canton. This particular deck is like super worn, and I got it when somebody gifted it to me when I was 17. If that tells you anything, I'm almost 42. Love this deck. All right, so what do we got? This is perfect. Okay, Major Arcana, the Chariot, okay, and Cypress. Okay, I really wish I could just like pin it up here on the corner so you guys could keep an eye on this. What I'll do is I'll take a picture and put them in the comments. The major arcana are, you know, like I've said it before, and those of you who are familiar with tarot are ideas around like big sweeping energy patterns in our lives, not necessarily like immediate day-to-day things. So I think it's really important that we're still in this coming into the lunar new moon or New Year's cycle, we're still looking at really big energy patterns. And 2018 is no different. Unfortunately, if you wanted to be comfortable, this is still not the year for that. So here's to honoring ourselves in our discomfort. And so Cyprus, if you don't know, teaches the way of the middle path. So when you're feeling really uncomfortable, yeah, it's going to help you regulate your energy, and especially useful for those who experience mood swings from joy to depression. How perfect is this when I was talking about the map of consciousness? So let me get into the Chariot itself. The Chariot is a peaceful warrior who has learned how to harness the energy of his will and is receptive to the inner guidance that is always flowing to him. His body and his personality are symbolized by the Chariot. He uses this vehicle during his manifestation here on Earth as an expression of his true self. So I want to say his manifestation here on Earth, we are all artists of our own life. And like I said, at a very basic level, we get to paint the picture of what we want. And that means, what are you doing on a day-to-day level for yourself, from your internal well-being? The more you elevate yourself in your own consciousness, the more you accomplish this for the collective. So, ruled by Cancer the crab, the Chariot is protected against the bombardment of thoughts from the world around him, symbolized by the city or the race consciousness from which he has separated himself. So, like I said, sometimes when you're really super confused, like you're feeling a lot of other, like that collective unconscious, it's time to really focus on, what am I creating on a very basic level? Like, what am I co-creating in my life? You know, everything from, am I speaking kindly to my 6-year-old when he bangs on the door and I'm trying to work? Or, you know, I'm just using some examples where I could have used this idea earlier yesterday. The Chariot is liberated from any old patterns that bind him and has learned to distinguish the true desires of the enlightened self from the compulsive desires of an unawakened self. Like I said before, just because you're having a feeling doesn't mean you have to act on it. Oh my gosh, when we think about all the school shootings, these are kids who are having these huge feelings, like strong energy inside of them, and they don't know how to process them unless they're acting on it. And so there has to be, you know, if they were truly empowered, if they truly were feeling in a space of love, when you're in the map of consciousness, when you're at the level of love, when you're vibrating at that level, you can't, it's kind of like Abraham Hicks saying, when you're in the vortex, you can't harm another, okay? So this is that space that it's asking you to get in, to learn to distinguish true desires of the enlightened self from compulsive desires. You know, immediate gratification. This is more, I'm going to talk more about this too in Conversations with the Universe, because there's a concept of the outer child. The inner child is the thing that feels, and the outer child is the really immature part of you that acts on all of your inner child feelings. And I can't own that construct. That's also a Susan Anderson thing, but like there's so many sweeping themes here on us owning our inner and outer child. It's important to recognize our inner child. It's important to recognize our true spiritual, like intuitive downloads that we're getting, and then how much is just us, our ego and our childhood, like, or our outer child acting out our ego. So it's really important. This is saying at the beginning of this week, this is something like something's going to come up where you're going to be asked, do I really need to react to this? Or is this something that I can just sort of process and let go? And then, okay, within himself, the Chariot embodies all the teachings from the first 6 keys. The celestial symbols on his hat and robe indicate the larger reality that he can now perceive and work with, the bird's eye view. The blue color denotes, I'm going to hold this up. The blue color denotes the High Priestess's consciousness to which he is connected. He is taking the middle way between the polarities of life, masculine and feminine. The masculine is always needing to act and do. and the feminine is learning how to just process and hold space, right? So he's taking the middle way between the polarities of life. Thus, he has reconciled the lovers within. He is learning how to control his moods and emotions by stilling the mind and listening to the inner guide or the high priest. And he's using the power of concentration, which is the gift given to him from the magician. The emperor has taught him how to organize his activities and rule over his domain. And from the empress, he's found a place of peace in his heart. What I'm getting from this is you've probably been through a lot of stuff already. You already know a lot of stuff. You maybe walk in two worlds. Maybe you have, like for me, I was in the law enforcement community, and now I'm in the spiritual empowerment community. And those two together give me a unique perspective. And this is telling you, use your unique perspective, you know, to all the things that you learned already. You have a powerful perspective and a gift only you have that you can share. And this is really important to know, like you have these, the ability to use everything that you've gathered, all the knowledge you've gathered, and use it for good. So the cypress teaches the way of the middle path. This is the herb. If you cannot locate cypress, you can imagine it, you can get a picture of it. Just envisioning or visualizing the essence of it is good enough. It has the capacity to help regulate energy and is especially useful for those who experience mood swings. So if you've been like me, feeling some really intense collective unconscious energy, this will help you process that. You know, call on the essence of cypress to help you really process through this. Okay, so it's a drying herb, and so will help to dry up or regulate unneeded emotions. So if you're feeling really like just angry or you know, premenstrual or irritable or whatever it is that's just like sort of clouding your ability to really be grounded and have a bird's eye view of things, call on this herb for that. Lastly, it's take direction from within. Take direction from within. Knowledge of inner powers and strengths. You have many strengths already. There's this piece that I keep hearing, like, stop looking for gurus. Stop looking for mentors or people, because they're just mirrors of you. We're all human, and you know, you may be, you know, get to a place where you're really judgmental if you've reached a place where you have collected quite a bit of wisdom. And if you're feeling like, oh my goodness, everybody I talk to, they don't understand me, they don't get me, whatever, that's spirit telling you you're already your own guru. You need to share what you know and own it, and know that what you know is of use and is good and is spiritually divinely guided, because you were called to you know, experience all these things in the first place. So all right, we're going to go into Wednesday, Thursday. Sarsaparilla, Knight of Cups. Okay, I love sarsaparilla. I have a funny story. The lady, the girl, the woman who gave me this set of cards, me and her, actually dug up a bunch of sarsaparilla in front of her mother's house when she first bought me this set of cards. So that's really funny to me. Okay, Knight of Cups. All right, so anybody knows cups is the element of water. Very emotional. We're in Pisces in March. Let me look up Knight of Cups here. So for Wednesday, Thursday, the Knight of Cups is the active, airy aspect of the water element within each of us. He is on a tireless search for identity in relationship to another. This is perfect. Like what I was talking about, when you feel like the wounded self within, it's hard to form a whole identity, but just that you are already whole anyways. Your real self, the one who you really are, is whole to begin with. And I think that at the beginning or the middle of the week here, Wednesday, Thursday, you're going to really understand this concept of I'm already whole, and in order for me to have meaningful connections to others, I have to tap into this already whole place, not the wounded place. His winged hat suggests the spirit of a self-styled crusader or messenger of the gods. He has a dream and he's actively in pursuit of it. He's unafraid to express his feelings, tastes, and visions to others. On the positive side, he can represent a stage leading to deeper personal commitments. But on the negative side, he may lose, if only temporarily, a sense of personal identity through getting caught up in the turbulence of immature relationships. Again, if you're feeling from that wounded place, you may start connecting to people from that wounded place. And that can be that inner child. When you're relating to somebody from the space of your inner child, you're trying to get your needs met in a childish way. And this is the time to put away childish things. So he must guard against moodiness and jealousy. So just remember, you are always the adult parenting your inner child. You're always the bird's eye view. You're always the real whole self. And you have the capacity to honor yourself, to soothe yourself, to tap into that place that is already whole and good. And this is really telling you, like, when you're feeling really in that immature place, it's time to reevaluate and step back and say, yeah, I already have everything that I need, and I can help myself get a better perspective. So sarsaparilla symbolizes purification of the emotions. So again, if you're feeling like some of that like negative collective energy, or like you've latched onto an incident and you feel like, yeah, you may even have very justified feelings behind it, but if you hold on to that immature, like blaming feeling, who's it really harming? You're not serving anybody by holding on to that anger, or whatever feeling, jealousy, or, you know, petty feeling that you may have inside, where you're just like, it's hard to, when you get so caught up in it, you build up momentum for it. Time to just take a step back. Bird's eye view. Be the adult. Be the parent. You know, reparent yourself in that moment. Sarsaparilla will help you, when you call on the essence of it, to get rid of these like just really crappy, immature feelings that aren't serving you. And they will give you the ability to express clearly your most intimate thoughts and feelings with others. Because I feel really called to say that even though your inner child has some immature feelings, it doesn't mean that they aren't to be invalidated. They're really important. When a need met goes away, right? So you need to meet it before you expect somebody else to meet those inner child needs. Because ultimately, it's not their responsibility, right? You're supposed to come to them as a whole adult, and they're supposed to come to you as a whole adult for you to interconnect properly with each other, or in a healthy way, frankly. So this herb has an unsubstantiated reputation of increasing sexual potency. Ooh. It's not always easy to determine, however, why a plant affects people in certain ways. Sarsaparilla is primarily a blood and liver purifier. That said, use the herbal essence to foster physical and emotional clarity. So if you're really feeling kind of jammed up with some stuck energy, call on this. And so remember, middle of the week, if you're starting to feel really stuck, or, you know, like just petty about something, you can always release it and let it go. Okay, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday. My favorite. Here's another one. The Major Arcana, Death. Elderflowers. And death, to me, just means rebirth. So by the end of this week, you know, basically let go of your childish ways, right? And it's the death. Ruled by Scorpio, is a symbol of rebirth, transformation, change, and initiation. The sun in the background is arising. A new day is being born. I love that because it's just a reminder, this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if you had a crappy week, maybe you had some conflicts with people based on your inner child and their inner child, and, you know, just petty arguments or something like that, it's just time to let it go. Just move along, let it go, release it, and then you can start anew, start afresh, okay? The blooming red rose symbolizes the rejuvenation that we will experience by shedding our old skin. Thank you, Brother Snake, for also letting this go. My mom told me this morning. She's like, you have a lot of stories, and you need to shed them like the snake. You know, my mom's also into shamanism. And I really was like, ugh! But I love it when people tell me things I need to hear, because I feel like this is important. This card, Death, is telling me and you and all of us here that it's time to let go of some old stories And I will say that we have to acknowledge our feelings, that inner child. We have to acknowledge it first before we can let it go. So if we have some stories and we know we're stuck in them, understand, yeah, I know maybe this is petty, maybe it's childish, maybe it's whatever, but it's time to acknowledge it. Yes, I feel this way, but now it's time to let it go. And death of the old is necessary for new to emerge. So like, it's setting the tone for something better, you know, this or something better. When you release it, you say, thank you, I'm grateful for this, whatever the lesson was, this or something better. And that allows the universe to deliver. So you got to make way, you got to release and make space for something new. The old is like the compost heap, full of rich experiences from which new forms emerge. Okay, so again, I was talking about having, you know, walking in two worlds. A lot of us walk in more than two worlds. We're walking in 5 or 6 worlds. Like, you know, maybe you, for example, me, you know, I know a lot about like herbs and whatnot, but at the same time, I am a deputy, and then at the same time I do spiritual coaching, or maybe I'm interested in being a victim's advocate. There are many ways that you can take all of the old stories that you have and turn them into something for the greater good that maybe you have to offer later on. So, you know, even your crappy ass experiences, like, hey, I got my car repossessed, maybe you can then share with somebody else, like, hey, when you're in financial disarray, this is how I overcame it, or whatever. You see, always find the silver lining. If we resist changes, we may experience pain emotionally and physically, but if we exercise our creative imagination and visualize a new, more peaceful, at ease self, a self that is in a better position than before, this or something better, then we can move more easily through the unknown fathoms of death. And I will say this, death is not a bad thing. Death is, you know, it's really hard when it's not your idea. Like, you didn't want to let it go. But sometimes when we're forced to let something go, that can be the exact thing that we needed to let go of. So trust in the universe, trust in spirit, surrender to it. And there was this little piece here I'm feeling called to mention. One of my favorite books, Anatomy of the Spirit, with Carolyn Mace. And she talks about the throat chakra and surrendering to spirit. And we like to say, hey, spirit, give me, you know, I surrender to you, but don't tell me any bad news, okay? It doesn't quite work like that. You know, like, if you're really truly surrendering to spirit, you're like, all right, give me what you got, and I'm just going to trust that whatever this is, it's for my greater good. So, you know, no negotiating, no like bargaining, just when you truly surrender and release, it's like, all right, I trust you. I trust that what comes is, you know, you're going to walk me through it. You're going to carry me through it. So death is literally getting down to the bare bones. Again, what did Andrew Martin say? Let it all fall apart before you start to rebuild. And this is perfect. If you're feeling that discomfort of things falling apart and you don't like it and it feels like crap and you're pissed and you're like, but it wasn't my fault, and you know, all that. If I feel like it took us all on like a little journey, you know, of our emotions this week. But when you get to the end, let it go. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay, because we're all still here. You know, we're all still here. We get another day to get it right. So it asks us to look at our true inner yearnings for emotional and spiritual peace. And really, that's the ultimate goal, is peace. Why are we doing anything? In the hopes that we will feel better, right? So it asks us to be reborn through our union with a greater power, surrendering to spirit. So, elderflowers. The elderberry bush has for thousands of years been venerated by people in many parts of the world for its magical and medicinal properties. Elderberries, I know that it says in lore and legend it is an emblem of sorrow and death, because of old traditions held the idea that the cross of Calvary was made of giant elder of a giant elder tree. From that time, the story goes, the elder was never able to grow into a tree, but forever remained a bush. In Europe, the elder was trimmed into the shape of a cross and planted on new graves. If it has blossomed, the soul of the deceased person was believed to be happy. Interesting. Pre-Christian Northern Europe, the elder was intimately connected to magic, and it is said that the magic wands were fashioned from elder branches. So they do have like quite a bit of spiritual weight to them. Elderflowers are used for clearing congestion and putrefaction during the onset of a cold and flu. So get rid of the old, get rid of the crap. Yeah. Oh, Chris says elderberry has been showing up in different ways recently. Interesting. And here they are again, right? Make a strong tea by combining 1 ounce of herb to 1 pint of water. Steep for 10 minutes and drink it as hot as possible. Then go to bed. You sweat it all out. It's like purify yourself. Release it. Let everything go. It's really like totally let it all go. And again, you can't make this up. The affirmation is, as the serpent sheds its skin, I renew myself within. So Brother Snake, thank you so much for this wisdom. And last but not least, we're going to do the overarching energy of the week and another major arcana card, the World. Are you sensing that we have, again, some really big sweeping energy going on? Not just things that have to do with our day-to-day life, but and if I'm looking at this big picture, then the Knight of Cups in the middle, like that little petty irritation that you went through in the middle of the week, it's not going to be a big deal. It's just going to maybe detour you from what's going on, you know, in the big picture. Don't let it detour you. Put away childish things, right? The World. Let's look at the World. What does the World want us to know? If we take away anything from this week, it's going to be Give me a second here. Thanks for your patience. Okay. The World ruled by Saturn. Here we go. Saturn, that old cranky bastard. I shouldn't blame him. He gives me my best lessons. It represents the unity of all the elements and their oneness with divine spirit. This card depicts our potential to manifest spirit on Earth. Saturn has been mistakenly regarded as a malefic planet, which is the old cranky guy. Clearer understanding of the planet and its energies will bring greater clarity to the World card. Saturn rules limitations, time, form, and responsibility. So, again, like I was saying, there's this pattern. I think it's Saturn's in Scorpio till November. This year, it's all about getting things done on a very practical level. And so if you're doing anything this week, make sure that it's moving you forward in a practical way, like maybe paying some bills, maybe finally, you know, getting, you know, for me, like going back to work, where it's like, well, I didn't want to have to collect a paycheck, but hey, collecting a paycheck funds my dream and moves me forward and gets me out of this meaning making around being financially irresponsible or whatever story I'm telling myself, right? So that's what Saturn is here about. Saturn, like I said, rules limitations, time, form, and responsibility. It crystallizes thoughts and ideas. It represents the earth plane and all of its wonders. The earth plane, that's what I mean. The earth plane. Like, even though you have some ideas in the spiritual plane, what can you do on a very basic level in your everyday life? How can you, you know, make me an instrument of your peace? You know, how can the spirit use you in a very basic level on the earth plane to move you forward from a soul evolutionary standpoint? Again, go back to work. Work with people. This is from my perspective, you know, going back to work and working with victim advocacy. Like, that's a very tangible way that I can make a difference in this world. So think about it from your perspective. What are some ways in a very tangible way that you can move your spiritual mission or desires or whatever? It could be, I decided I wanted to cook dinner at home and make my family feel good this week. It's something very simple. It doesn't have to be huge. Comfrey, that's the herb behind the World. Comfrey is, frankly, if I'm familiar with comfrey, um, mostly with bone setting. Comfrey is an herb of seeing the segments and putting them together to create a whole. Hello, broken limbs. It helps us to knit our realities and our lives together. Comfrey is very good at helping mend back together what was broken. So meditations with the herb or the card will enable us to understand. This is very important to understand. If you feel like you went through like this ridiculous transformation over the last several months like I have, and you're rebuilt, you're finally at that place of releasing and rebuilding, the putting it back together can be a very healing experience. When you decide to, once you've let it all go and you've released and you finally let yourself fall apart, you surrender to it all, and you're like, I completely annihilated my ego. When you rebuild, it can be an extremely healing experience. And the other thing, those of you who are familiar, I think Saturn has not come around. It's a big deal because it doesn't come around but every 28 years. So think about where you were if you were even alive 28 years ago. And I was in, like, I think high school. And I went through some really painful self-identity stuff at that time, mostly related to childish ways. And this is a way to get it right again. Like another rite of passage, another way of, like, once you've just undone all the old, how to get it right, how to move forward in very tangible ways. Set the tone. And I keep hearing from everybody, a lot of other energy forecasters, that 2018 is the year of doing it, the year of getting things done, and mending it after you've let all the old crap go, rebuilding. Comfrey has a soothing effect upon every organ it contacts, known as knit bone or bone set. It may be used internally and externally to heal wounds, fractures, sores, and ulcers. I've only ever used it externally. Wearing the root or leaf in a pouch, like a medicine bag, is very, you can use all these herbs, even just a photo of them and put them in a medicine bag, the essence of them. And you hold them around your, you can wear a medicine bag on you when you're doing something like this, when you're speaking to spirit. You can put it underneath your clothes, almost like an amulet. Comfrey can, what does it say? Wearing the root or the leaf of the comfrey in a pouch or taking the herb as an herbal essence will help us to come to a better understanding of how the teaching of the world can manifest in our lives. Literally, like how to bring things onto the earthly plane. That said, I joyfully create my life and see spirit as the foundation of all. Like, that's perfect, right? I have 3 folks who asked for a card specifically. I'm going to take a picture of all of these really quick and put them in the group. And then if anybody else would like a card who is on, let me know, and I will be happy to pull one for you. The first person I'm going to pull one for, though, is Holly, because she asked for me to do it last time, and I didn't. And I'm so sorry. I thought I got everybody on the list. And now, that said, I'm going to leave these right here and pull another card from here. This one's going to be for Charlotte. Oh, and Chris would like one as well. Awesome. So I have Charlotte, Elizabeth, Rena, and Chris. Actually, I'm sorry. This is my brain. Holly's first, because I promised her I would do her first. So sorry, guys. I'm a little bit nuts. You guys are so awesome. Thanks for hanging in here. All right, Holly. This one's for you. I'm thinking of you. Okay, this one really popped out. All right, Holly. King of Pentacles. Pentacles is the suit that's related to the earth element, and alfalfa. Okay, so this one's for Holly. King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles is seated on a throne of rock and is looking directly at the viewer. His robe of red indicates his ability to confront and deal directly with the needs and requirements of living on the earth. Something about this, you got some like day-to-day earthly issues going on, and he's going to help you with it. Patience, willpower, and understanding of how the world works are his talents. So keep going, be patient. Not everything is going to be the same if you're going through a difficult time or experiencing some just everyday Saturn-like things, like things on the earth plane, like, you know, your car breaking down or just things like that, knock on wood. He knows the body is a temple for spirit and sees the material world as a stage for spiritual growth. And because I know you have your growth group, that's perfect. He works to achieve stability in finances, health, emotions, and in his home. He is goal-oriented and reaches for the heights of success. The king must watch that he doesn't get so fixed on his goals, achievements, and rewards that he forgets the spirit behind material manifestations, and thus becomes stubborn, selfish, resistant to change, and overly focused on material security. So, everything, of course, have goals, but understand that spirit's behind everything, ultimately. And the affirmation is, I work with the earth and all her gifts to see more clearly the manifestation of my spiritual self. Alfalfa is used to help in the assimilation of protein, calcium, and other nutrients. You're also, this is perfect for you because I know you're always giving me nutrition advice, and definitely call on alfalfa, the essence of it, to help you assimilate the health that you're working on for yourself. It's very beneficial to the blood, acting as a blood purifier and as a remedy for arthritis and anemia. It includes an abundance of minerals and vitamins and is very high in chlorophyll. Carrying some alfalfa in a pouch will help both the assimilation of and the reception of those qualities in tangible objects that have real value. From such a place of inner security, we can remain stable and grounded without being fixated on past achievements. The herbal essence may be taken as needed to achieve this result as well. So definitely use alfalfa to help you with your goals this week and to keep you grounded, and remember to trust in spirit. All right, that's for Holly. Next we have Charlotte. I'm gonna get a drink of water here. I've been talking for like an hour. All right, Charlotte, let's call upon spirit, see what spirit has for you. Oh my goodness, this one popped right out. All right. Ooh, Three of Cups. Trillium. I love this deck because sometimes it uses herbs I've never even heard of, and I like when my brain is stretched. Trillium, Three of Cups. So cups, element of water, very emotional. In a wooded clearing, we behold a mythic scene. I'm going to hold it up again so you can see it. Three muses dance in life-affirming joy. Here life celebrates itself. There can be no greater tribute to life, no greater reason for living than the joy of pure being. So you're being called to just enjoy being right now. If the purpose of life is the attainment of mystical God awareness, such awareness comes closest in moments of unconditional love, acceptance, peace, and the pure joy and happiness depicted in this card. So this week, Wednesday, Thursday, when you're being, challenged, take the high road. Decide that you're going to stay in this love and self-acceptance. And when you're in that loving, self-compassionate place, you can give that to your, other people. You can't give what you don't have. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So love yourself if you want to be able to give away love. Like Wayne Dyer, he had this analogy around squeezing an orange. Like when you squeeze an orange, what do you get out of it? Orange juice, right? So when you're squeezed, like, what are you getting? What's the essence of you? So let that essence be pure love and self-acceptance. So you have this to give to others. The artist symbolized by the brunette and purple celebrates the joy of others. Joy of others. Yeah, like when you're feeling joyful inside, you can enjoy other people. That's like rule number one, right? The golden-haired one in red salutes the dance of life, and the brown-haired lady honors the glory and power inherent in the growth of the herb. As the herb seems to arise spontaneously out of love in the loneliness of the dark woods, we are, through grace, given the inspiration of joyous affirmation. Such an awareness is never earned through conscious seeking or determination, because it is the very spontaneity of the moment that all possibilities arise. So let it just sort of free flow. The trillium, sometimes called Beth root or birth root, is so named because of its favorable influence upon the birth process. So that's great for this week, because death is all about rebirth, right? It has general tonic properties while at the same time promoting general relaxation of the pelvic nerves. I'm getting like, okay, pelvic bowl, your sacral chakra, creative process. Something about this is like helping you release and create what you really want. So let it be from a place of love and self-acceptance. With joy, I embrace and welcome all that I have fostered and created. Well, that's perfect. All right. And Kimberly, I see that you asked for a card, so I did put you on the list there. Okay, so this card is now going to be for Elizabeth. I'm going to drink another drink here. All right. Thanks for staying with me, guys. This is it always ends up being like an hour. I don't know. Even when I try to keep it short. Okay. Spirit seems to like to talk to me, apparently. Okay. Four of Wands. Man, we're getting all the elements today. Wands is going to be fire. Think of like Harry Potter. You know, with his big wand. Four of Wands. Fennel seed. Let's see. You're working with the fire this week. In many ancient traditions, it is the angels or devas who concern themselves with the maintenance of all existence and life. Here we find two of these experiencing the joy of the day's completion. Okay, implicit in the scene is a subtle need to release the tension and pressure involved in completing a task and to experience completion before going on to the next task. So definitely a death and a rebirth. Maybe you have a project you're working on. Something is telling me to tell you, enjoy the fruits of your labor and then release it and allow yourself to start something new. How do we do this? Making time to be together and play is one important method. Like, definitely come together and enjoy the fruits of your labor and celebrate. So making time to be together, play is one important method, which also teaches the value of cooperation and prevents the dangers of egocentricity and over-seriousness. So like when we're like super into something or a project, it's like we can get so caught up in the like, get it done, get it done, get it done, that like we forget to enjoy the process. And I'm totally guilty of this. So that's an awesome reminder for me as well. Another message of this card is to allow talents and skills to be flow and be shared. Be unafraid to live up to your potential. That's awesome. Allow your inner light to shine through. So come on, use that fire, baby. Carry fennel seeds in a pouch and smell them during the day so you can breathe in their message. What is the breath of life? Fire. Fire breath, like a dragon. You can smell fennel. Believe it or not, fennel can be used if you go to some Middle Eastern restaurants. They have little fennel seeds as an after dinner mint kind of thing. They cover it up with like candy coated fennel, and it's supposed to make your breath smell really sweet. So breathe some fennel. It gives you sweet breath. Medicinally, though, it's also really good for your stomach, digestion. That's also another reason why it's used after dinner. Fennel is good to take after meals and first thing in the morning to help regulate digestion and the circulation of energy through the body. So again, let it flow. Fennel stalks and roots are eaten as food like celery. I've only ever really ate the seeds, to be honest with you. Taken as a tea, the seeds are commonly useful for stimulating appetite. To me, fennel almost tastes a little bit like licorice in a way, but that's just me. The seeds are also useful to relieve a variety of abdominal pains, including menstrual cramps. So to me, it's like anything that's like cramping or not flowing, this is going to help you with that. So if you're feeling creatively constipated, take some fennel. Yes, and it is a really good breath mint. Gives you that baby's breath kind of thing. So I feel greater self-confidence by quietly recognizing my many gifts and accomplishments. And enjoy yourself. Celebrate this week. Whatever thing it is. Maybe, you know, just a little goal on the way to a bigger goal. All right, this next card is for Rena. Yay. Yes, it does taste like licorice. I'm not like a huge fan of it, but remember those Good and Plenty candies? To me, that's what fennel tastes like. You can get them in bulk at health food stores too. They sell them in the bulk. And you might be able to get them in the herb section as well. All right, so this is for Rena. Okay. Licorice, the hermit. Spirit's funny. I just think Spirit's hilarious. That's awesome. So we've been talking about licorice. Apparently it was on our minds. So the hermit. You got a major arcana going on. So this is more related to overall pattern for you. Let me see what we got. The Hermit, ruled by Virgo, is the seeker reflecting on the varied experiences he has had during his long sojourn in life. Again, how many feet do you have in which world? You know, 1 foot in this world, 1 foot in the spiritual world. It's asking you to really look at like all of your collective experiences. His consciousness is moved inward, and he realizes that the truth he has sought is truly in himself and not in the distractions of the outer world. That's important. The Hermit has learned to help others with love and compassionate detachment. He's gone beyond the point of being critical and is able to see that the varied paths people choose for themselves all lead to the Great Spirit. So, love other people, that bird's eye view of no judgment. Everybody's just being who they are in their stage of being human, right? So you see that because you've been through a lot of stuff in your own life. You can see that from a very non-judgmental way. He no longer needs to convince others of what they should do. For that matter, he does not have to speak very much. So it's kind of like you don't need praise and blame are both the same. You don't need other people's opinions to make you feel good or bad, right? They don't have that effect on you. And so, because you know that your sense of self comes from within. And the Hermit is at a point of needing to be silent and allowing his light to shine. So you don't have to explain yourself to anybody, really. Through your example, those who come into, or through his example, those who come in his vicinity may realize that they too can shine their lights without fear. So you're really holding space for people to be themselves, and to, you know, no matter what their spiritual truth is, you are able to really see that for them. Licorice, for a very long time, licorice root has been used before meditation to help quiet the mind. So yeah, if we're getting a lot of that mental chatter, that childish ways that I keep referring to, it opens up blockages in the emotional realm, getting rid of like those just, irritations, those petty irritations, those things that you're feeling because you're, maybe real basic level connecting to that immature part of you, you can release it. In their place will be a deeper sense of peace and understanding. After taking licorice root for a while, one will be able to bring into harmony the different parts of oneself or of relations that have seemed out of accord. Okay, perfect for this middle of the week. I'm not saying there's going to be difficulties, but just an opportunity to not have to explain yourself, to see that maybe the other person is, just being human, and you've got the bird's eye view, and you can let them be who they are, and it has no bearing on who you are, because you're of love and light, and you let them be whoever they're being and love them in that place. So licorice root, known as the grandfather of Chinese herbs, is an excellent qi or energy builder, and a detoxifier. Will get rid of poisons due to poor food, alcohol, and other organic poisons. Is a harmonizing agent in many herbal recipes and is used in most Chinese formulas to allow the herbs to work in a more synchronized way. So carrying a piece of licorice root on your person will impart a greater sense of peace and harmony. So that's kind of the goal. Like, just the essence of licorice for you is take the bird's eye view, love the person where they're at, be in peace and harmony, and know that you don't have to do anything different. You can just be in a place of non-judgment for them. And you'll feel better about it too. With patience and inner quietude, I follow the guidance of my own inner light. There you go. All right, so we're down to Chris and Kimberly, and let's see what we got. This one's for Chris. Two of Cups, Uva Ursi. If I remember correctly, I used Uva Ursi in like a lot of PMS type stuff. Yeah, it tasted terrible. 2 cups. A man and a woman face each other as equals. The caduceus between them indicates that theirs is a healing relationship. The cups are filled with the accumulated experiences of their wisdom and knowledge. The card represents the highest possible union of 2 souls becoming one. Here we're made aware of the need of becoming strong within oneself before forming an intimate relationship with another. Yeah, talk about the theme for this week is, if you want to have good connections with others, you got to form a really strong sense of self. And whilst such strength can be found within a relationship, the process is frequently made complicated by the disadvantages of codependency. This imbalance between 2 souls is often expressed in increased conflict and stress, necessitating more individual work on issues of self-esteem. So, like, for me this week, like, me and my guy were just like butting heads. Like, we're just irritating the crap out of each other. He is much more in denial about his feelings than I am. He's like, "What? I'm not mad at you." I'm like, "Okay, all right." But it's something in the collective energy here. Just some of that petty irritability or whatever. If you're feeling any of that, just go back to what is the root origin, like what need am I trying to get met? And if you can help yourself and if you can give that to yourself, then you won't need to seek out harmony with the other person. Just get in harmony with yourself first. And that's really like the only way I've been able to like cope with, some of the irritability that I've had. Like in the past when I was, with my ex, I would say I would really be at the mercy of another person's actions. And now it's more like I choose to feel a certain way towards you, because when I'm feeling like resentment or irritability or whatever, I don't feel good. So I'm going to choose to feel this way towards you. because I want to feel good. And so at the same time, when you get to that place of choosing unconditional love, unconditional positive regard for that person or yourself, you get to create the experience, and it can become a really wonderful experience. I've had some of the most amazing connections or feelings of positive regard after some of the most unbelievably like frustrating moments. So relationship, harmonious union, combining strengths, coming together, acceptance of another, focusing on positive qualities rather than differences. I recognize the spiritual strength and power that is created from our union. So this could be relevant to you in, you know, many ways. The leaves and berries of Uva ursi, the sacred herb of Mount Shasta, symbolizes the purifying stream of love. We actualize our love energy when it flows to another through intentional acts of caring. Uva ursi clears blockages and irritations one feels toward another, and thereby awakens one to the divine presence in all. Yeah, unconditional positive regard. And again, this something about Wednesday, Thursday, in the middle of the week, where we're just being kind of called to maybe recognize where we're being triggered, and when we do get triggered, just take the high road and remember to stay in that place of unconditional positive regard. Yeah, here we go. The herb serves to cleanse and purify the genitourinary tract. Especially in women, we hold stress in our womb. If we're irritated with our mate, women who are irritated with their mate frequently manifest like yeast infections. This is kind of yuck, but it's because we hold that energy there of like, I don't want to connect with you, so I'm going to put a barrier here. So this Uva ursi, I remember it was like, yeah, I remember it had something to do with feminine genitourinary tract. Anything to do with connecting with your partner and you're irritated with them, this is going to be an excellent herb to release that irritation and cleanse yourself, basically. This is the most often used to treat bladder and urinary tract infections, as well as to help normalize blood pressure by regulating fluid metabolism. I think that's why I was thinking PMS, because when you're very bloated, it helps regulate your fluid metabolism. Again, and when you're PMSing, you're irritated with somebody. So it is also helpful in regulating blood sugar, which is awesome, making it useful for the management and treatment of certain types of diabetes. Perfect. Okay, so that was the Two of Cups. And lastly, we have a card for Kimberly. All right. Woohoo! Hour and a half. I think the other one was a little bit longer than this too. So let's see. This one's for Kimberly. I got this card just popping up. Ah, King of Swords. Man, we got all of the elements. That's cool. Yeah. Air. Let me see. St. John's wort. St. John's wort, most of you know, is helps you build up serotonin in your brain. It's a natural antidepressant. I use it regularly. In fact, I love it. It does sort of smell kind of funky when you, if you get it in like its actual herb form. I wouldn't recommend that. It's not very regulated. King of Swords. King of Swords. The King of Swords sits on a rock, representing his capacity to be grounded and established in his thoughts. The sword in his left hand and his blue garment denote his innate ability to be clear in his thinking and open to innovative thoughts. The yellow garment shows his willingness to be creative and expressive with words, whether they be written or spoken. He is a natural diplomat, which is perfect for you, marriage counselor, right? And philosopher who can use his communication talents in ways that can be truly inspiring to others. Through his keen ability to be analytical, he's able to cut away truth from untruth. So in other words, like, you're cut out the BS. He must watch, however, that his sword is not used to be critical and harsh to himself or to those associated with him. He must be tolerant of other people's ways and not grow impatient with their slower thinking. Arrogance does not become the king of swords. He must learn to use his clarity of mind to support his creativity and be supportive to others with whom he is associated. All right. This herb can impart the capacity to calm the emotions of fear, depression, and frustration in order to allow our ability for free visionary thoughts to come through. It will alleviate tension and unrest. I'm getting a feeling like this isn't necessarily for you, but for maybe somebody you're going to work with this week, that it's important that they deal with their own mood and their own tension and unrest that they have, so that they can communicate better. And like, who better to show them how to do that than you, especially, you know, in partnership, because I know you work with couples quite a bit. For those who are stuck in arrogance about their righteousness, this herb will unstick the energy and allow a better flow to occur. Yeah, if, you know, a lot of time when we're in partnership, we can feel like really entitled and like, you know, I'm right. And unsticking that energy is the only way to move forward, right? So St. John's wort is a sedative herb that strengthens and renews the nerves and raises the spirits, relieving depression. It supports the lungs, expels phlegm, and has been used to alleviate bedwetting and internal hemorrhaging. Externally, it can be used as an ointment or compress to promote the healing of bruises, sprains, traumatic injuries, ulcers, and stings. Again, you don't necessarily have to have the herb itself. You can just think about it. You can draw a picture of it. You can write St. John's wort on a paper and, you know, imagine the essence of it. Put it in a little medicine bag. It may be taken 3 times a day to help to incorporate the King of Swords energy. An affirmation will reinforce steadiness and calmness of mind. The affirmation would be, I acknowledge my ability to see clearly and to communicate my beliefs and ideas. So hopefully that's relevant. For some reason, I'm just really feeling like that's more to help you help somebody else. So that is it for today. I'm hoping you all enjoyed this. And thank you for staying with me this long, and it's been really fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all next Sunday, same time, 2 o'clock. And Thursdays is when I'm going to have my conversations about the universe and you in it. So if you have an idea or a conversation, or you just want to pop in and get some kind of coaching on a topic, that'll be the time to do it. So thank you guys for being here, and love you all. Bye for now. Mwah.